Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at this week's shrine. Now I can already tell you, do not get your hopes up. It is not in a magnificent shrine. There are one or two things that are... Look, it's just not a great shrine. There... You can... Whew! Alright, let me just explain to you why this week's shrine isn't fantastic. Okay, so we're looking straight away. We have Overcharge. Overcharge is a teachable perk unlocked by the Doctor. We have Windows of Opportunity, which isn't actually a bad perk. It can allow you to help with your loops and understanding your pathing a bit better as Survivor. We have Sprint Burst, which is a teachable unlock by Megan, or Megalyn, or Megan, or whatever you would like to refer to as Meg Thomas. And we also have Brutal Strength, which is a unlockable by the Trapper. Now, these four perks, the bad thing about this is there are two perks here that are already in the standard game. From the Trapper, no DLC required, and from Megan, no DLC required. Up here, these are the only two perks that are coming from DLCs. We have the Doctor DLC, and we have Kate Denson as well. So, let's point out, what does Overcharge do? Basically, it allows a skill, when a killer kicks a generator, a skill check will appear, excuse me. Next time a survivor touches that, there will be a skill check they have to land, and it will be a tremendously difficult skill check. Okay, so it goes up 3, 4, and 5%. When a survivor misses a skill check, there is a 5% additional penalty to failing the skill check on the Jenny. So let's talk a little bit of math. It takes 80 seconds to do a Jenny. For whatever reason, the Jenny was at 79% completed, 79.9. You kick it with Overcharge. A survivor now misses a skill check. They get like a 3% default penalty, plus a 5% penalty from this. So you're looking at what? An 8% penalty off of that. 8%, I mean, if we round that up to 10, you're looking at 8 seconds off a Jenny. If we're going to round that down, that's, you know, we're looking at about, what, 7.2 or 6.8. It's not a lot off of a generator based on a survivor missing a skill check. That's very, very situational, and that means the Jenny needs to nearly have been completed, okay? You will see a lot of people running Overcharge alongside stacking it with a perk called Unnerving Presence. Unnerving Presence is going to allow you to make skill checks even harder, so it's going to be a tremendously hard skill check made even harder from a perk called Unnerving Presence. Now, Unnerving Presence is a teachable unlocked at level 30 from the Trapper. You don't see too many Overcharge Trappers nowadays. It's not really a fantastic perk combo, if I'm going to tell you the truth. If you are going to see Overcharge, it's generally going to be a Doctor running a double Calm add-on so he can increase his terror radius, with Distressing, with Overcharge, with Unnerving Presence, and with Ruin. That's generally what you'll see it with. It's very hard to incorporate into other builds. Something to point out, no, it does not stack with Surge. What does Surge do? When you down a survivor, all Jennies within 32 meters will explode and regress. It does not stack from Surge. The explosion regression does not stack. The Jennies still don't stack as if you manually kick them, like it does stack with Surveillance. So keep that in mind. That is completely out of the ballpark. There is not much value you can get out of Overcharge. The only good thing to point out is if for whatever reason you're coming to a Jenny a survivor touches, if they touch it and try and run, they have to land the skill check while running, which can be very, very difficult to do, but not impossible. And you will see it mainly on killers that like to try and 3-gen strat. It's really putting all your eggs in one basket, and I can't agree with it being a very, very good perk, but that's all for that one there, guys. So would I personally buy this off the shrine? I would not. I would leave it and just let it stay there. Moving on to the next perk, we are looking at Windows of Opportunity. Now, Windows of Opportunity, would I buy this perk? Yes. If I was new to Dead by Daylight and for whatever reason I had 2,000 iridescent shards, I would buy this if I did not own the Kate Denson DLC. This is a teachable unlocked at level 30. By the way, this is a teachable, I believe, unlocked at level 40. 35 is Mono and Abuse, and 30 is Overwhelming Presence, not to be confused with Unnerving Presence. Windows Opportunity is unlocked at level 30 by Kate Denson. What does this allow you to do? Basically, if you are not in chase, it has a 30-second cooldown, and basically when vaulting a window or dropping a pallet during chase, it'll consume itself. Basically, all auras of things you can use, such as windows or vaults or pallets, anything you could use or that is still up for a survivor to defend themselves with, not counting lockers, will glow bright greeny yellow. It's like a neon-y color, and basically once you take that vault while in a chase, it'll disappear and you'll have a 30-second downtime. So it's really good to be able to go, okay, it's mid-game, I'm in the center of the map, we're currently versing a hillbilly, and I'm working on a Jenny right now. With enough practice, you should be working on the Jenny looking, okay, so if the Billy comes from this direction, I'm running this way. What do I have to defend myself? Okay, cool. Billy comes from this way, I'm going this way. What do I have? So you should be understanding while you're working on the Jenny. This perk here you don't need to really look around and think too much. It's going to tell you there's a window here, there's a pallet here. However, fake pallets from Freddy will activate on this perk, much like fake pallets from the Doctor will appear on this perk also, so you can't counter those killers with this perk. To note as well, it comes into effect really good if you've got a team that's heavily dropping pallets and there's like 3 gens done, 2 gens left, and the killer's chasing you, because there's going to be not much left on the map. It's going to be able to show you what you can cycle and use. Do keep in mind though, while you take your fast vault in chase, you need to memorize where everything else is, and you're going to be able to make a play through that. Once you've been running the tiles and the jungle gyms enough, you should be able to do that just off by heart by default. But very good perk to help a beginner looper try and get better at looping. Now, this next perk comes from Meg Thomas. Now, something I want to point out about this is I much rather leveling up Megan than unlocking her teachables. Megan and Nia are the 2 starting characters in my opinion. If you want to learn how to hide from the killer, you play Nia. If you want to learn how to run from the killer, you play Megan or Meg. Now, what is good about Meg? Basically, she comes with Quick and Quiet, she comes with Sprint Burst, and Adrenaline, in that order. The teachables unlocked at level 30, 35, and 40. Adrenaline being 40. Adrenaline is a god tier perk, which will help you out a hell of a lot when you get better at the game towards the end of the game. At the beginning of the game, when you're kind of new to Dead by Daylight, it probably won't help you out at that much, because you might be dying before the end of the trial. This being said, Sprint Burst allows you to, do you know when the killer hits you and you get that movement speed? You basically have that on demand. You're going to have to walk around the board to preserve it, therefore you're wasting a lot of time, unless you're stacking it with something like Fixiated, but that is another teachable coming in with Nancy. This being said, I do not like this perk at all. I would rather a controlled perk that allows me to use Exhaustion, being Dead Hard, Balance Landing, even Head On, but leaning towards Sprint Burst because it is in the Shrine. You can unlock it through the Shrine, but I highly suggest holding your shards. Out of all of these perks, the only perk you should be looking at buying if you wanted something would be Windows of Opportunity if you didn't own the DLC, to allow you to understand looping and pathing a bit more. If you did own Kate Denson DLC, it's going to cost you 800 blood points roughly to get to level 30 to unlock this teachable. So you be the judge. Do you think 800 blood points is worth 200 shards? I personally would rather keep 2,000 shards. Sorry, I would rather keep the 2,000 shards and then unlock it with blood points and then spend it next week. This being said, we're moving on to our final and perk, which is Brutal Strength. Again, a level 35 unlockable teachable by the Trapper, 40 being Agitation and 30 being Unnerving Presence. So if you were, for whatever reason, wanting to leveling up your Trapper, you could stack it with Overcharge and Brutal. Don't get me wrong. This only works after a killer breaks a generator by kicking it for holding the spacebar by default key bindings. This allows you to break pallets and everything quicker. It goes 10, 15, and 20% faster. If a survivor drops a pallet early, press spacebar, you'll break it 20% quicker. You'll notice a massive difference, and a survivor should be able to hear the sound difference. You still make the same sound breaking a pallet, however it's sped up the sound, so a survivor's going to be able to pick that up. It can work pretty well with Wraith, because a Wraith also has some add-ons that allow him to tremendously break pallets faster. It stacks with that too. It stacks with Fired Up. It stacks with quite a few different things. It can be good, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're going to be respecting pallets if you're doing this. If you don't know what respecting a pallet means, it means when a survivor runs through, you wait for the survivor to throw it, then you break it. General rule of thumb is if it's a good pallet, you walk through it regardless, whether you have Enduring or not. You want the pallet out of the way, especially if a survivor hasn't maximized how many loops they can do using the window at the jungle gym. You just want to walk through it and break it. 9 out of 10 pallets nowadays, I will walk through and just break anyways by taking the stun, get rid of the pallet, and then rotate elsewhere depending on how poor pathing the survivor took. This being said, Brutal Strength is a decent perk. It allows you to get Pop Goes the Weasel out quicker. It allows you to get Surveillance out quicker. It allows you to get Overcharge out quicker. It just allows you to break pallets quicker. It allows you to speed up the game in your favor. Would I unlock it though as a teachable? No, it's level 35 teachable unlocked by Trapper. It'll cost you about 1.2 million blood points to unlock by default, and the Trapper is a non-DLC character in the game. Like I said before, the only 2 DLCs in the game right now here that we can see in the Shrine is the Doctor from Overcharge and Windows of Opportunity from Kate. So I would only look towards unlocking Windows. This is not going to help you stall the game. Don't think for 1 second it's going to be very, very beneficial for you. You're going to get people working on multiple different jennies at once, and therefore the perk is almost rendered useless. At least Pop gives you stable 25% regression rather than they need to miss the skill check. Pop is guaranteed, whether this is they need to miss the skill check for the penalty to happen. All in all, looking at this week's Shrine, I would say level up Megan if you want to actually learn how to run from the killer, so don't even waste your shards on this. Don't waste your shards on this either. If you want Brutal Strength to level up the Trapper, you can also get Agitation out of it, which is a pretty decent killer perk, especially for the new people into Dead by Daylight. Overcharge is a bit of a dud perk. I personally wouldn't recommend it or buy it, but if you want it because you like the Doctor's perks, then by all means grab it. You can maybe make it work with, like I said, Unnerving Presence from the Trapper alongside Distressing, which is a non-teachable in the game. And if you're lucky with Ruin, then you've got an okay stalling build perk, but then you're still going to be struggling when it comes down to speeding up the game in your favor in terms of breaking pallets, doing hook trades, save the best for last, that kind of playstyle. And all in all, we got Windows of Opportunity, by far the only mediocre better perk on the shrine this week, which is going to allow you to understand your jungle gyms, your loops, and it's going to help you out a hell of a lot when it comes down to memorizing some of the new maps in DBD. All in all, guys, thank you for watching the shrine. I look forward to seeing you guys yet again in the next video. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to come and pop in and check out in the live stream.